What if I told you that one single thought could bring peace to your heart, even later in life? As we age, life doesn't necessarily slow down on the inside. In fact, it often feels like it speeds up. While the world outside moves on, the mind can become noisier, heavier, more restless. Thoughts about health, loved ones, legacy, they swirl endlessly, and sometimes peace feels just out of reach. In this video, we explore 5 specific thoughts that have helped many older adults find calm again. These aren't just pleasant ideas. They're grounded in wisdom, psychology, and real experience. Each thought stands on its own, but one in particular, a simple phrase, has the power to dissolve anxiety when deeply understood. If you're over 70 and find yourself feeling unsettled for no clear reason, lying awake at night with your heart racing, or bracing for something bad that never comes, then this might be one of the most valuable things you hear all week. It's never too late to change your relationship with your thoughts. And the best part, you don't need to become someone new, you just need to think in a new way. The first idea is this: a thought is just a thought, not a fact. It may sound too simple, but it's one of the most important shifts you can make. Most anxiety doesn't come from what's happening in the world. It comes from believing everything your mind says without question. Over the years, the brain collects memories, regrets, fears, and it throws them at you like an endless slideshow. What if I fall? What if I'm becoming a burden? What if my best days are behind me? These thoughts don't come with warning labels. They dress themselves as facts. When you believe them, they steal your peace. But take a breath. Say to yourself, this is just a thought. Suddenly, a small space opens between you and the fear. You stop treating every worry as a certainty. You begin to notice how your mind tends to replay the same fearful story, like a radio stuck on one station. And when you recognize that, you can choose not to listen. Take Margaret, 81, who woke up each day with a racing heart. Always sure disaster was near Ivan when life was going smoothly. In a support group, someone shared a simple line: "Just because I think it doesn't mean it's true." That moment changed everything. From then on, when fear came, she whispered, "This is just a thought." It didn't make the fear vanish, but it gave her space, and that space gave her strength. This approach isn't about ignoring reality, it's about facing reality without being swept away by the imagination. When you treat every thought as a warning, you live in a world that doesn't exist. But when you pause and say, "Not every thought deserves my belief," you take back your peace. You're not the voice in your head. You're the one who hears it. And that makes all the difference. The second idea is that you can't control everything, but you can control what you focus on. Anxiety often makes us believe that if we just stay alert or worry hard enough, we can stop bad things from happening. But life has a way of teaching us otherwise. The truth is, we can't control most things. The weather shifts, bodies change. People make choices we can't predict. And trying to carry all of it will only leave you tired and discouraged. But there's freedom in accepting this. You may not be able to change that your children live far away, or that you've faced loss or uncertainty, but you can choose what you pay attention to. You can choose whether to focus on what's missing or what remains, whether to center your thoughts on fear or gratitude. Henry, 84, lost his wife and found his days filled with silence, but one day, he noticed a red cardinal perched in a tree. It made him smile. From that moment on, he started focusing not to forget his grief, but to also make space for beauty. The smell of dinner, the faces of neighbors. Slowly, his anxiety lost its grip. Because where your attention goes, your emotional life follows. You may not control the storm, but you hold the flashlight, and that matters. The third idea is that every moment is a new beginning. As we grow older, we sometimes feel like our story is already told, that we're coasting toward the end. But that belief isn't true. Right now, in this moment, you can begin again. This doesn't mean forgetting your past. It means recognizing that the present is always offering you a clean page. Anxiety feeds on the idea of permanence. It says, "This is how you'll always feel." But the mind is flexible. You are not your anxiety. You are the awareness behind it. Once you see that, change becomes possible. Linda, 76, lived much of her life weighed down by fear. But one morning, at her senior center, during a short breathing exercise, something shifted. She felt free just for a moment. That moment was enough. She began sitting quietly for 2 minutes each morning, reminding herself, I can begin again. And over time, those minutes became the most peaceful part of her day. It didn't take perfection, just willingness. You don't need to fix everything, just begin again. A kind word, a new thought, one breath. That's enough to change your day. Because peace doesn't live in the past or the future, it lives here, now. The fourth idea is this: you are not your thoughts. It's such a simple truth, and yet so often forgotten. Especially as we get older. When quiet moments become more frequent and our minds grow louder, thoughts arise about worth, usefulness, being forgotten. And without realizing it, we believe them. But you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. The mind creates thoughts just like lungs breathe. Constantly, automatically, often without our permission. The mistake is thinking those thoughts are facts. Henry from Iowa 81 had come to believe he was just taking up space. But a meditation group at his church introduced a new image. Thoughts are like passing cars. You don't have to chase every one that stayed with him. The next time his mind said, "You're useless," he said, "There's that old car again." And he let it pass. That's the freedom of this idea. You don't have to argue with every fear. You don't have to prove your worth to your own mind. You just have to remember, thoughts are just visitors. You choose which ones to invite in. The last idea is that nothing lasts forever. It's one of the most obvious truths, yet easy to forget. As when we're anxious, we fear that pain or sadness or fear will stay forever. Or we cling to moments, hoping nothing will change. But everything changes. Joy, sorrow, fear, even this very moment, all of it rises and fades. And when you accept that, you find strength. Clara, 77, had been recently diagnosed with a chronic illness. Her mornings were flooded with fear. But slowly, she began to repeat one phrase: "This too shall pass." At first it felt empty, but it became her anchor. The fear came, but it no longer controlled her, because she stopped believing it would stay. Your emotions are like seasons. You don't need to force them to change. Just trust that they will. Storms in the sky pass, so do storms in the heart. And when you stop gripping so tightly, you start seeing clearly again. This truth, nothing lasts forever, isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to comfort you. Because if the hard moments pass, then so do the anxious ones. And that gives you space to appreciate the good, the scent of coffee, a kind word, a memory that makes you smile. These are the small treasures of a changing life. If there's one thing life has taught, it's that peace doesn't come from fixing everything. It comes from meeting your thoughts with wisdom. These ideas are more than words, they're tools. You've earned the right to feel calm. You've lived through enough storms. Now let peace be the gift you give yourself. One gentle thought at a time.